Well, good day and welcome to today's Living Word. I'm Dwayne Matz. We're going through the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, going to pick it up at verse 17. And here it is, Christmas Eve. And believe me, this is just not the kind of message you typically hear around Christmas time. But really, the reason God sent his only son into the world was to keep people out of hell. And this portion of Isaiah talks about the reality of hell. Let's take a look at it from Isaiah 9, beginning at verse 17. Therefore, the Lord will have no joy in their young men, nor have mercy on their fatherless and widows. For everyone is a hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaks folly. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For wickedness burns as the fire. It shall devour the briars and thorns, and kindle in the thickets of the forest. They shall mount up like rising smoke. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts, the land is burned up, and the people shall be as fuel for the fire. No man shall spare his brother, and he shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry. He shall devour on the left hand and not be satisfied. Every man shall eat the flesh of his own arm. Manasseh shall devour Ephraim, and Ephraim Manasseh. Together they shall be against Judah. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. That's Isaiah 9:17 till the end of the chapter. Wow. Merry Christmas. Whatever happened to peace on earth and goodwill to men? Well, this is the same chapter that Isaiah gave us these words. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. That's from Isaiah 9:6, just a couple of verses before this. Now, can we just ignore this portion and go on with the business of a Merry Christmas? Well, I'm sorry, we can't do that. God's wrath against sin is not turned away from the hypocrite, the evildoer, and those whose mouths are full of lies and folly by simply putting up a Christmas tree and sticking some presents under it. It's only turned away by grace through faith in that little babe in the manger. His wrath spilled out on his people in the days of Isaiah in this very real, painful, and agonizing way because they had turned away from God. And it didn't matter who turned away, the young men, the widows, the fatherless, all who turned away from God experienced his judgment. And this occurrence of God's wrath was meant to be an example for us. 1 Corinthians 10:11 says, now all these things happened to them as examples, and they were written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. So I beg you, don't let this example pass you by in vain. These judgments were meant to be a picture of hell, a place where the wrath of God is poured out forever upon the souls who reject the gift of the Christ. Note the references here to fire and smoke in verses 18 and 19. And in verse 20, a picture of souls forever hungry and never satisfied. This hunger so painful that a man would be willing to chew off his own arm to satisfy it. But no satisfaction shall come in hell, never, forever. There will be no relief in hell where his hand is stretched out still. So what will it be for you this Christmas? Will you receive Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, as your Lord and Savior? Or will you continue the life of the lying, evil-doing hypocrite who thinks he or she can make it or can make do with the eternal wrath of God? Well, here's a promise for you if you turn to Jesus. It says in John 1:12, but as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe on his name. This Christmas, receive